Alright, hello everyone, it's Kevin from the Life Podcast. As usual, I'm joined by Joe.
Hiya.
And, well, actually, this time Bish is unfortunately busy. So, in his stead, we have a very special guest who's joining us today for our October 2016 Resident Evil / Halloween special. And that guest, my friends, is our very own favorite Resident Evil specialist, Jordan.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so like I said, this month's episode is going to focus on horror games, right? Fits very nicely with the Halloween theme, but don't be mistaken, we'll not just be concentrating on Resident Evil 7, we'll be talking about the other Resident Evil games, and we might, delve a bit into, the horror game genre in general, because there's lots of new exciting developments that are going on in the industry, with VR, Oculus, PSVR, and all those this new tech that's coming out, right? Also, Nintendo NX got announced a few days ago, so there's a bunch of new things that are happening that might affect the genre, right? So we really want to talk about that. But before we continue, I'll just give you guys a refresher on Resident Evil 7 if you haven't been keeping up with the news about it. So, Resident Evil 7 is a first person, and you might be like, wait, what, Kevin? Resident Evil, it's a third-person shooter, right? We'll get into that in a bit, but it's a first-person shooter and survival horror game, and as usual, it's developed and published by Capcom. This time around, it is written by Richard Piercy and directed by Koshi Nakanishi. And at this moment, time of this recording, mid-October, it's slated to release on the 24th of January of next year, 2017, and that's the worldwide release date. It's slated to release in Japan around 2 days later on the 26th. Again, these dates might change, there might be delays, as you know. This sort of stuff is common in the industry. So, why are we doing this? Like I said, it's very nice to talk about horror games, because it fits very nice with Halloween, and we all kind of like Halloween and horror games, right? Jordan in particular, like I said. Before we continue with the discussion, though, Joe?
Alright, so for those of you who are new to our greatness, Get a Life Podcast is a monthly gaming discussion podcast under the Get a Life group. We talk about different types of games, from AAA games to indie games, though we have more of a focus on Japanese titles. Remember, if you want to join on the fun, we have our Twitter is Get a Life Podcast, and we can be found on both on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. And if you like our content, you can support us by checking out lootcrate.com/getalife.
Alright, that being said, let's start off with Resident Evil 7 and the announcement. Because, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, the announcement was pretty interesting, especially on my Twitter timeline, just seeing everyone reacting to it. Everyone was kind of confused. They're like, what? This is Resident Evil 7? So, just tell me about your thoughts and your reactions to them announcing at E3 2016. Like, would you initially think it was a good thing? Did you agree with, this new approach that they seem to be taking? Are you, more conservative? Do you prefer the more quote-unquote traditional approach to Resident Evil? Just give me your thoughts.
Well, I remember watching E3 live, and I was like in my room with my friend, and I remember it being like the VR section of the Sony's conference. I remember seeing, I'm like, oh, a VR horror game? That's interesting. I remember seeing the gameplay. I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. And I was getting like Outlast vibes, because I just got done playing Outlast like that year, and the DLC. I'm like, oh, this is really cool looking. Then I was starting to get more interested when I saw certain things seeing certain things. I'm like, this seems familiar now. Like, I'm seeing certain aspects. And then the variant happened and said Biohazard Resident Evil 7. I'm like, oh, I was super excited because I'm not getting to it, but I hate Resident Evil 6 so much. And then just seeing the tiniest bit of horror back in Resident Evil made me happy. And like, I don't care if it's first person or third person. Like, as long as I get my good horror in a Resident Evil game, I can fight some zombies like creatures, and maybe it can still have those like little tiny campy parts of Resident Evil. Like, I would enjoy if the game went full on Resident Evil and then ended with a rocket launcher at the end and drive off in a helicopter. That'd be funny to me if it did. Like, every game ends like that. I don't think and also because I wouldn't see Resident Evil 7 ending like every other game like that. But if it did, like, oh, that's awesome. So I'm like, I'm all good with the first person. I played the demos, that and the beginning hour demo and the kitchen demo. So I'm like, oh, I played it and I'm liking the first person.
Yeah, for me, I was
Yeah.
honestly did not know how to react at first, right? Because I came in a bit late, so I really didn't know that is setting up for Resident Evil 7, right? So just looking at the footage in the trailer, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought of was Outlast, right? Just the color hue and the atmosphere and the way it's presented reminds me a lot of, gameplay I saw from Outlast and Outlast 2, right? And in fact, if
Yeah.
they didn't slap on the giant, Resident Evil / Biohazard logo at the end, I honestly would not have ever thought there was a Capcom or Resident Evil game, right? Because it looks very.
I would expected to see like you said, if you didn't show Resident Evil 7 again, I would expect to see Outlast 2 playable
like
in
an
VR.
Outlast spin-off or something, yeah, right? Because I'm looking at this trailer, right, which is like first person. It concentrates on the music, the atmosphere, and it's horror, right? And then I look at the last Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 6, right? And look at the gameplay, and it's like, fucking Rambo, guns out, explosions, zombies with guns shooting at people with guns, and explosions everywhere, Michael Bay-esque sort of gameplay, and I'm like, what? How is this Resident Evil 7, right? Because
Sounds just like a AAA video game to me.
yeah,
It's
honestly,
like it looks pretty, but everything else is shit.
Yeah,
Man,
so I was like,
you don't need to get started in Resident Evil 6.
for the longest time, like anybody, you don't even have to be a Resident Evil fan to know that the fan base, for like ever since RE4 at least, has been pushing for, please Capcom, give us horror again, right? And then RE5 came
I don't
out,
know.
and people,
I think RE4 did horror. I think RE4 did a perfect balance between horror and action. Because I just played Resident Evil 4, and there's a scene in Resident Evil 4 that made me scared playing it again on PS4.
yeah. I didn't mean Resident Evil 4 was bad, but I mean like after that, because Resident Evil 5 came out, and granted, it wasn't a really good horror game, but it's pretty damn well respected in the community. It's a great co-op game. We can't deny that.
Yeah, that's all it is good for. It's being the best co-op game. Because I never finished a single player because it's horrible playing by yourself.
But at least like Resident Evil 5, sure, okay, it's not like a great Resident Evil game, but it's a good co-op / action game, right? But then Resident Evil 6 comes out, right? And it's like literally Resident Evil Identity Crisis, the game, because it tries to be, it doesn't know what the fuck it wants to be. It's like, should I go for like a third person shooter
We could have
action
a whole
route?
episode on me just bashing that game.
Oh yeah.
No, like, I
would
remember
not test Jordan about that.
No, I remember like back when it was still releasing, like the hype building up to it. It's like because everything looked really cool. It's like the logos looked really cool, like the trailers looked really cool, and then like reviews started coming out.
No, that logo
and
is
then,
still giraffe getting
yeah,
DJ.
but then like once the reviews started coming out, it's like I saw everyone just hating the game. It was like, oh, this is really
Felt so
bad. And I saw
insulted.
gameplay. Then I'm like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
I remember being so hyped for it because I love Leon as a character. And I remember the very first trailer is Leon. I'm like, oh my god. Then they showed zombies, and then it went downhill in the second half of the trailer. I'm like, god dang it. you teased me as zombies and Leon, and then it goes all off rails.
I mean, like, I do admit, I agree with Joe in the fact that, like, I was kind of impressed by some of the RE6 trailers. I mean, especially the Hope trailer. That was pretty cool, right? And they mentioned Ada, and just the visuals looked really nice, right? I'm not gonna lie, the character design, as usual, is pretty great. But it's just the gameplay. I don't know what they were doing. I don't think that Capcom knew what they were doing either while they're developing it, because they were trying to cater to everyone, and they just fell flat in their face. Because
Like, the game at the very least could have been a bad Resident Evil game and maybe no horror, but even with that, it could have at least been like a good third-person action co-op game like 5. Even 6, like you said, the gameplay in 6 is just bad by itself. They can't even survive when being a stupid, fun co-op game like 5 is.
it does not feel like a good AAA third-person shooter. Like, it does not hold up anything at all to something like, for example, Gears of War, right? It's just...
That's for sure.
And so, like, they're trying to go this action route with Chris's campaign, but they're like, oh, no, we can't disappoint the horror fans. So let's try to emulate this more traditional Resident Evil vibe, right? So that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they're trying to go for with Leon / Ada's campaign, and it didn't really work out either, right? I mean, it was
It's like, oh, maybe like the first mission or two is like, oh, this feels kind of cool, but the gameplay's still bad. And then when it falls apart hard.
Yeah, I mean, they had noble intentions with those 2 campaigns, and I think that they are the best 2 campaigns out of the 4, because I remember there's Leon and Helena's, Ada's, Chris and that other generic dude's, I forget his name, and I don't really care because that campaign is horrible, and Jake and Sherry.
Wesker's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those 2 last ones were complete and utter shit. I'm sorry, but it's...
You don't have to be sorry for Resident Evil 6.
Yeah. Capcom has to be sorry about that, but it's... Getting back to the subject, yeah, it's just, after their last game, I just was not expecting Capcom to try to, push what Resident Evil was back then, right? Resident Evil was centered around horror, and it's interesting to see that they're trying to push this horror aspect again, right? It's really nice, and I actually really like that, because they're trying, and they actually have a clear goal in mind. It's not like Resident Evil 6, but they're trying to satisfy everyone. They have a clear goal in mind, but I don't know how I feel about the first-person aspect, all right? I guess I'm kind of neutral. I'll give them a benefit of a doubt, because granted, first person does give you more immersion, right? Let's not deny that. It's just that for me,
I mean, I'll say I'm more terrified. I was more terrified playing Outlast than any of the Resident Evil games, and if I can get like an Outlast type of terror in Resident Evil with my guns and enemies and bosses and stuff.
Like, here's the difference between like third person and first person. With third person, like you're kind of just seeing the character experience these different things, but with first person, everything has the opportunity to just pop up in front of you. So like that's what makes it really amps up the horror factor.
Especially like I know Resident Evil 7 probably will have like hiding factors. I said like, so I know in the tape recordings, that's where you don't have, like, you're gonna have weapons as a main character, but if you find tape and you watch a tape recording and you play it like in a demo, you don't have weapons in the tape recording parts. And like if you need to hide like you do in Outlast, first person does pretty well, because like that's like you kind of know where the enemy's at, like you can hear them, but like you're hiding, like you don't know if you want to come out yet if they're right around the corner. Because I remember playing Outlast, like, oh no, I'm gonna come around the corner, and then there's a dude already. It's like, god dang it, I shouldn't have come out. Yeah, I can't tell what's happening outside.
That's another big difference with like third person, first person. Like with third person, you can kind of see things coming better than with first person. With first person, you can only rely on your peripheral vision.
Also, like there's that the immersion that first person has that third person doesn't necessarily have, right? Because like you said, Joe, when you're in third person, you see the character in front of you, right? So you're kind of like distanced from the action. Whereas in first person, you may be playing a character that's not you, but you see what they see, right? So you feel everything, and it's amplified with VR. And this is another thing they're trying to push, VR, right? So it's something we'll get into later, but they're really trying to breathe some life into Resident Evil again, and I'm really glad that happened.
I'm very glad like they're making the huge quote-unquote revival of Resident Evil, like starting with VR integration, because like it's definitely going to be very innovative, and it's definitely going to change everything about horror games in general.
And it's like the first big AAA horror VR game too, in a way.
Also, like one of the aspects they mentioned about Resident Evil 7 is that there won't be any direct, no main characters from the main series will be appearing in Resident Evil 7, which honestly to me is very weird, because it's like, why is it called Resident Evil 7, right? Because if
I feel like some will still appear.
Yeah.
I feel like Ada has a real good chance of appearing.
Oh yeah, Ada's like their secret weapon here, and I think Umbrella or Umbrella, like they probably will appear in some obscure way.
I have a feeling someone else will appear, but Revelations 2 was the last game that came out, and the Revelations is a canon game, so I'm not gonna say who I think is gonna appear. But if you played Revelations 2, there's a big villain character that could probably appear. That's not Ada. That's related. That's something to do with Wesker.
Yeah, I don't remember too much from Revelations. I never got the last episode, unfortunately. I didn't really give up on it. It's just I never got around to actually buying the last episode. But to me, at least, like if you're a longtime fan of Resident Evil, right? I'm not going to claim that I am, right? I've played a few games in series, but I'm not like like you, Jordan, who's played like most of the main games, and you know the games like the back of your hand. But if like a fan who knows the series well watches a trailer for an upcoming game in the series and is unable to recognize that it's a part of the series, I think that someone somewhere fucked up. I mean, if it was a spin-off, right? Okay, fine. That's understandable, right? Because spin-offs are supposed to have different... Yeah, because spin-offs are supposed to have like different characters, different stories. They're supposed to be spin-offs. They're not supposed to be part of the mainline games. Right? They don't necessarily need to have this continuity that the mainline games do. But this is Resident Evil 7, right? So to have this sort of disconnect between the past games and Resident Evil 7 is it's interesting, to say the least. I don't know what you guys think about that. Do you guys welcome these new characters, or do you wish like the main characters would appear more directly?
I think it feels fresh because like I love characters like Leon, Ada, and Chris and stuff. But like if I had to play as Leon or Chris, they're super strong now. Like they've seen the fears. Like they had like from the beginning of the series, from like Raccoon City to the mansion. Now they become like agents of the government and UN and stuff. And if I was playing, even in first person, if I was playing as one of them, I wouldn't have been that scared, knowing how these guys can go up against these huge threats by themselves. I'd be like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna go through and destroy everything now. I'm a agent that has no fear and knows what's going to go on. I'm just gonna kill everything with these two characters. I like but playing as a new character is like, this character has no idea what's gonna go on. Like I'm being thrown in here not without anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's one of the benefits of starting fresh is that like you have these characters who haven't been developed yet, like these characters that really don't know what to expect, and it's also beneficial from a story standpoint, because imagine if they brought back characters, then they'd have to write them in a way that makes them involved in the story. And after like what has been happening within the series, I feel like that would kind of hold them back, because that means like they'd have to connect everything somehow.
And I also think it'd be interesting because like Resident Evil 7 is confirmed to take place after 6. Even though the 6 was a bad game, the story was like a huge global event. So I'm interested in like what's happening in the world for that, like what's going on, like what's going on with these enemies and worlds. Resident Evil after a huge global catastrophe. Like I have a feeling some characters will show up. They're just saying it so like, oh no one's gonna show up. So be like, okay, I guess no one's showing up, and then when they do show up, it's gonna be like a good story point. Whether it just be a villain like Ada, maybe Chris comes in at BSAA and they start wiping stuff out near the end. Who knows?
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. Those are all pretty good points from both of you. On that last one, yeah, it kind of reminds me of everyone's reaction to MW2. I don't know if you guys have both played COD or whether you're fans of COD, but
I love the Modern Warfare series.
Oh yeah, Modern Warfare. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You remember how in COD 4, right? There's the end where like, sorry guys, spoilers, but if you don't know how COD 4 ends, it's kind of like...
It's a very old game.
Yeah, it's a very old game anyway. But either way...
Wait. We should say... Although we should say that... We should have said this earlier, but just in case, we may be talking about spoilers. So if you're not fond of spoilers, then I would recommend stopping right here.
Well, at the end, how like Price, he's wounded, right? And you're like, oh shit, does he make it, right? And after... You're left with that as the game ends. And after suddenly in Modern Warfare 2, he fucking pops up in the gulag, right? And everyone just fucking loses their minds. So it would be interesting if that sort of reveal does happen in RE7. I don't think it'll be as direct. It won't be like, fucking Ada just walks across your path. But that is true, because playing as new characters, who aren't like, invincible and shit, and have gone through hell and back, it's a new fresh start. It's just... And I understand that. It's interesting to me that they choose to name it Resident Evil 7 instead of making a spin-off, right? Because it's not like it's a reboot. It's just, a little caveat, a little deviation from the main series.
Yeah, it's like the Resident Evil 6 was like a global catastrophe. Maybe the world settled down. Maybe like nothing's happened for 5 years or something. So now it's like just starting fresh. Maybe this stuff will start smaller again. Because it does look like it's a little small in Resident Evil 7. It's like this little mansions, plantation stuff.
Like with Resident Evil 7,
huge
they have
city
the chance...
and underground bases and stuff. So like, no, it's just a little plantation that's out in Louisiana, out in the middle of nowhere.
No, with 7,
like
they have the
Resident Evil
chance
1
to kind of
in the
like...
middle of nowhere.
7 is kind of like their chance to start over. Like they can kind of set new grounds for new characters, and like they can still stay in the same universe while also going on a different path. And I feel like if they're able to get this path, if they're able to make this path as smooth as possible, then they'll be able to like make Resident Evil as popular as it used to be.
Yeah, this is like they're testing waters, but at the same time they have a really good chance of laying a foundation, right? Because if they fuck up, and these are characters that we're not familiar with, at least they won't be like, no one will be like, oh my god, you guys ruined Ada or Leon. So they also have this sort of backup, right, by starting with these new characters. Another thing that was brought up and that I read online, and I kind of have to agree with here, is that by starting with new characters, you can also kill them off more, right? Because if you noticed, I think in all the footage they've shown us so far, in beginning hour, in the kitchen demo, in the lantern demo, the protagonist or the player that you play as, they all get killed at the end, right? So, and if they do it in the story, right? If you kill off characters, that creates like, shock and stuff, right? And that's good for a horror game. But I imagine that if you're playing as Leon or Chris and he just gets shanked by a random zombie, the fan base probably wouldn't be too enthused. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, got a point there. Yeah, those characters have been through so much. Yeah, if the classic characters died by these people, it'd be like, what, really? After everything they've gone through, just got killed by a little punch, choke out, or stab.
Yeah, no, that not be acceptable. Well, so we've talked about Resident Evil, in general, but let's move on to the actual like footage and gameplay that we've seen. So, obviously the most famous or most prominent footage that they've shown us has to be beginning hour, obviously, right? Because beginning hour, like when it came out, literally the timeline was just beginning hour. Everybody was fucking talking about that. It was all over fucking YouTube. It was all over my goddamn Tumblr
I was
page.
sitting there. I was sitting there waiting all night after the E3 demo. I was like, I had my PS4 up. I had my Twitter up. I was sitting there, just like, someone, please tell me it's. I had no work the following day. I'm just saying, I download demo, boom, play it nonstop. I'm like, I need this.
Yeah. So, what you guys think of the gameplay and the atmosphere that was in the demo?
I mean, the gameplay is pretty straightforward. It's like you're first person, like you're in this environment. You don't really know where you are, and then you're interacting with these different things and changing the environment, or just altering it in some way.
I like how it's so mysterious. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. It's like we've said, like, we don't know how it connects to the overall story of Resident Evil 7, so it just makes it so much mysterious. Like, I mean, like, what's going on? Like, this is Resident Evil, but I don't know how it connects to the rest of the story, so it just felt so mysterious being in the house and seeing everything that's going on.
That mystery element really pushes people to search for stuff, right? And if I remember correctly, people were trying to fucking dissect the beginning hour demo, because if I remember PT, they had the craziest fucking Easter eggs and shit in the PT, and that was a teaser, right? That wasn't even the full game. I cannot imagine what the full game would have been like if PT itself had all those little nooks and crannies to explore, right? But I think that's what they were going for. Yeah, like whether it's intentional or not, I think that you can't help but think of PT when you watch and play the beginning hour demo. Because,
Rest in peace, PT. Rest in peace.
Rip.
I feel like they had that teaser demo like made, but I have a feeling like they were just gonna use it for VR demos and really probably were gonna put it online. But like last year with PT, they're like, we don't need this to be an event only VR demo. We can just release it right now. Someone else did it and it worked well. We can do it.
The Kojima Del Toro team was striving until Konami brought down the big hammer. What a shame.
Konami just I don't even know what to say. Alas, let's not.
But back to the demo though. Like this one aspect of it, I think it's really cool. And like I said earlier, like how like in the main game, like they said that you're gonna have weapons in the main game, but if you find tapes, like you don't have weapons. So I think the aspects of tapes is cool, because in Resident Evil you can always find like little like logs around. You can read the backstory of what's happened here, what's going on. I think it'd be cool instead of having like things you can read, like if you find the tapes and that's the backstory, you just play little events. But like in the demo, I like the one thing, like when you get the tape, you play through it, and like there's stuff in the tape that you can do. Like in the tape, like you can go over behind the microwave, pick up a lock pick, go over to a cabinet, pick the lock, open it up, and there's nothing in there. But then when you go back to the real world, it's like you go over there and it's unlocked now, because in the real world it's locked. You go over there, it's unlocked now, and there's an axe in there. You can pick up the axe. I think it's cool. Like you can maybe like interact with the environment and the tapes and change the real world. I'm like, oh, that's a cool little aspect.
Right. It's just like I do like those types of aspects in games, though. Like I don't want it to go to the point where everything just feels too unreal.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't want it to be like you need to do this for every single puzzle. I mean, just like little tiny secrets would be cool.
Yeah, no, like if it was
like the axe was just like there to show off like what melee combat could be like in the main game.
You know, like how I expect it to be is that whatever you do with the TV will activate some kind of mechanism.
But like I also like how the TV thing, like when you like in the tape that you see them pull the lever and they show that like secret, like you go down, you get that secret layer to the basement, and like I remember replaying the demo the first time, like, oh, I know the lever's here now, do it, pull it, and there's something, and then there's something else there, because I pulled it before the tape that there was like that forget what it was, there was some kind of switch or something, like, oh wow, that's cool, playing it differently.
One thing they really nailed with the gameplay and atmosphere, like, you know, think what you will about the first person, right? You can be against it, you can be for it, but I think we can all agree that they really nailed the immersion with the gameplay and atmosphere, all right? Because it's kind of like PT, because if you notice the soundtrack, or rather the lack of a soundtrack, the entire fucking demo, it's basically just you, and you're just in the house, pitch black, right? No music, nothing to comfort you. It's just you and your fucking flashlight, and you're going through. And, you know, sure, there are some elements that are, you know, borrowed from other games. You know, it's your standard, you know, you go up to an object, you press a button to inspect it, you know, you rotate it and stuff. But just the graphics and the music, the aesthetically, and, you know, they really nailed the immersion, because you feel like you're actually there, right? And I'm just glad that
and stuff like that helps out too, like when like dude walks by the doorway, it's like, oh, because I remember the first time I played it, I never saw a dude walk by the doorway, so I was looking somewhere, I looked over there quickly, so it would activate him walking by, but I looked somewhere else, and then I remember playing the second time, like, oh god, I didn't even know he was there the first time, like I just looked somewhere else quickly.
Yeah, well, like here's how I felt when I was seeing that demo. It's like I had this weird feeling of abandonment when I was looking through it. I haven't actually played it myself, but I have seen footage online, and from what I've seen, it's like you're just alone. You don't really know what's going on, and then you feel like there's nobody out there to save you. So it's kind of like you feel like you're on your own, and like you have to find a way to escape somehow, which I really enjoyed about that demo.
It really does not hold your hand at all. You are just you're just this random guy, right? They don't even give him a name. He's just the camera guy in the demo, right? So you're dropped into this fucking house in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's this feeling of hopelessness, right? And it goes so well with the setting, because it's this random house. Both your buddies are there, your NPCs are there, right? But then they die, right? They just get picked off, right? So it's basically just you exploring this macabre house all on your own, right? And it's completely still. It's dead. There's no lighting to provide you comfort. There's no sound to drown out any, you know, noises going through the house, you know, any movement. It's just you, right? And I think that's one of the main reasons why people liked it so much, right?
Yeah. Then it goes from being like, oh, let me explore this place, to seeing the tape and then realizing what happens, like, oh, now I need to escape. But then you start hearing noises around, like banging on the doors and stuff. It's like, oh, how am I gonna get out of this place now?
And it's like, the great thing about like having, like feeling so alone, is that every little sound will affect you in some way. It's like when it's so, like if it's so quiet and like you're walking in like these dark rooms where you don't see anything happening. It's like if you suddenly hear a noise, you're like you can't help but freak out. It's like there's that, like you find out like, oh, maybe there's somebody here, or maybe it's just the wind. It's like it makes you very, those kind of environments make you very vulnerable to the things around you. So almost anything can scare you to death.
And speaking of being scared, I don't know if you guys ever played this game, but it's called Condemned: Criminal Origins. It was on the original 360. It's a first-person horror game. It's really terrifying, but really amazing. There was one aspect in Resident Evil 7 demo that made me made me kind of freak out because I thought they were gonna do what this other game did. In Condemned, like you're done fighting enemies, you're like for a little while, you're 30 minutes, you're just exploring around, trying to find your way out, get the keys and stuff, and you find a way out. You open up this pit when there's mannequins there, and like you look at them, you look away, they move again, and you look, and every time you move, they get closer and closer to your back, and like it was just like the second those mannequins in Resident Evil 7 demo turned around at me, I'm like, don't you dare do what that other game did. I've been through this before. I love that. I just love that little thing. I just want to mention that because whenever I think of the mannequins and horror games, I think of Condemned, and that happened in Resident Evil. I'm like, I haven't seen this ever happen since that game.
Yeah, just ever since watching that one episode of Doctor Who, do you guys know what Weeping Angels are?
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the whole statues turn around, kind of like the mannequin things I was talking about.
Yeah, it's like SCP.
I never watched
if you know
the show.
that, Joe. I don't watch the whole show, but I just watched the one episode. And basically, Joe, they're just these those angel statues in parks and stuff, right? You see all the time. Well, they're basically those, right? But they're crying. And the thing is, as long as you're looking at them, they don't move. They're just still stationary, regular statues, right? But the moment you look away and they're out of your line of sight, they teleport beside you or near you, right? And basically they try to kill you. And that's, ever since watching that fucking episode, every time I see a goddamn mannequin or a statue in a fucking game, and I'm like, no, stay the fuck back.
They're dangerous, man.
Yeah, no.
I'm telling you.
But, with all that being said about the beginning hour playable teaser, though, do you guys think it's too similar to PT? Because that's one of the things that was brought up in a lot of the comments and a lot of conversations I had on Twitter, right? Like, oh my god, look at fucking Capcom. They're just, copying PT.
I don't think so, because, like, a lot of horror games have walking around type stuff. And PT just did it differently, but a lot of horror games walk around buildings and...
Well, here's the big,
maybe there's secrets.
Here's the big crucial difference with PT and Resident Evil 7. Like, with PT, like, do you remember when it first came out, it's like everyone was playing through it, and they had no idea what to do? Yeah, it's like, because it became big to the point where everyone was online trying to, like, talk about these different secrets and discussing how to find this one secret or find out how to advance and
how to beat it.
Yeah, how to beat it. You couldn't, like, people
I
were
haven't beat it. I never beat it. It was so hard to beat it.
Yeah,
but if you look at the walkthrough and how, like, step by step on how to beat it, some of the things are so fucking abstract. Because I think one of them, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a long time since I've watched videos on it. Because I only went to my friend's house and we tried to, dick around in it together, but I never actually beat it myself. But apparently, one of the steps, if I'm not mistaken, involves you saying something into the mic. I don't know whether that's true or that's bullshit, but it's just so obscure, right? Like, how the fuck are you supposed to figure that shit out?
No, it's like you also have to... I'm trying to remember how it went.
I don't know how the first person beat it, like, that quickly.
No, because you also looped around in, like, the same areas, too. It's like, the areas were slowly but surely changing. It's like, I'd say that's the big thing that made PT so different. Like,
and the one reason it was really scary because the graphics were really, really good.
Yeah, no, it was also done by Hideo Kojima
so
and
realistic.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yep.
Though I must admit that RE7's graphics are no joke either. They are pretty fucking good. Like, it's just incredible what they're doing with this new tech. And it's running on the RE engine, I believe. But even RE6 back then, a few years back, even that looks good, right?
Yeah, but, like, here's the thing. Hideo Kojima is, like, a genius when it comes to creating video games. And Guillermo del Toro is a genius when it comes to, like, making movies. So, like, them working together, making a horror game, especially under Konami, which is very famous for their Silent Hill games. It's like that was going to be it was a dream project.
I wouldn't have minded. Now when I think of it, if Resident Evil 7 trailer, when they first announced it, would have ended with Hideo Kojima and Del Toro.
Well, like, Kojima is just his name. He's, and I might be overstepping myself here. Yeah, I might be overstepping myself here, but I dare say to the video game industry, or to video game fans at least, he evokes the same sort of reaction and emotion as Stanley Kubrick, in the film industry, because he's just a fucking mad genius, right?
Yeah, I'd say you're on point there. I mean,
Yeah,
I love his games.
Well, I mean, there's
And on
nothing
top of
wrong
that-
with saying that. He just generally knows what he's making.
Yeah. I'm just being careful there because I know there are a lot of really passionate film people will be like, oh no, how dare you do that? But on top of that, Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro.
I mean, I'd say your thing was right. I mean, like there's a lot of good game developers out there, but when you say Kojima, it's just like oh yeah,
It's like, oh man,
everyone knows him. And it's like, yep, I want it. It's like you say a new game for Kojima, it's like I'm buying it.
There's also like the
gonna get
bromance between Kojima and Norman Reedus though that got everyone hyped because Reedus, Walking Dead. So he was
had a fuck.
No, I love Norman Reedus. He's
he's
Konami
just such a
good.
badass, right? And he's like a perfect fit for a horror game. And I was like, I can't fucking wait to see what he does, right? In PT, or rather in
No, like
Silent Hills.
I'm very excited for Death Stranding. Like that is going to be a very.
I'm just
interesting
confused. I still have no idea what the fuck it is.
Game. Exactly. That's like the big. That's what makes Hideo Kojima so mysterious. Everything he does has symbolism in it.
The way he came out during E3 was the most epic entrance ever for anyone. Coming off that stage with Mad Max Fury Road music, the lights and stuff, and it was like, his first thing is, I'm back. It's like,
He's like,
that's the best entrance ever for anyone.
hello everyone, I am back.
With that Mad Max music playing.
It's just like
so
a
good.
giant middle finger to Konami. It's like, bitch, you thought you could shut me down?
I mean, I've already heard like working conditions at Konami were horrible, but after
Oh, yeah.
the
No, it's
decisions they
just-
made for the past few months, they've really done a lot to make people hate them.
What the fuck is that new Metal Gear game? It's Metal Gear Survive
Gear
or anything, right? And it's
Survive,
just
They're basically They're basically trying to milk the hell out of Metal Gear Solid 5.
they're like, remember that Metal Gear franchise that we're trying to milk? Hey, remember that Silent Hills horror game? Oh my god, horror and Metal Gear, let's do it. It's
4-player co-op zombie games everyone love? Let's just take zombies, throw into Metal Gear, and use the exact same maps that we already have in the game, and just do nothing different. And just make it so you use your custom online character to play.
Have you heard of
Money?
Have you
That's
heard of
Konami
Alpha
for you
Omega
right
Sin?
there. Yeah, no,
Heard of
I'm
what?
subscribed to him.
Have you
He's a
heard of
badass.
Alpha Omega Sin, Jordan?
Oh yeah, I'm sub.
His opinions were basically summed up how I thought. It's just a really stupid concept. It's like, oh, what's in the Metal Gear Solid 5 universe that a ton of people loved, but oh, it's in another dimension where all these weird things can happen. Why?
Like I watched gameplay for it too, and it doesn't look good at all.
No, it's like what? Like I don't understand why this random thing is making them go into another dimension. Is making them fight all these different like.
They don't need a reason. They just want to milk the fucking franchise. That's the only
Metal
thing
Gear's
they're trying to
crazy, but
go for.
that Metal Gear's crazy, but even that's a stretch with that alter dimension type thing.
To get back on subject,
Even
though,
though, like one thing, there's plenty of good 4-player co-op games out there that have zombies. You don't need Metal Gear for that. It's the last thing I want to say about that.
Right, but anyway, like back to
to
Resident
get back on
Evil.
subject, I know that we could probably have several episodes. We can have an entire podcast ranting about why we don't like Metal Gear Survive. But alas, that is not the topic that we were
Konami
discussed
podcast.
today. Yeah, like Jordan could rant for hours on Resident Evil 6, but unfortunately, we do not have that sort of time, and that's not the main focus of the episode. But going back to PT, believe it or not, that's how this conversation started. Going back to PT, I do have to agree with you guys in that it's not PT didn't invent the horror genre. It wasn't like, oh no, it invented walking in horror games. It invented inspecting objects, right? But
I think the only reason people compare it is because they were
It's
like,
popular.
oh, it's horror, and it was being released the same day at a Sony press conference.
it's like the Blizzard effect, where everything's a ripoff of WoW and everything's a ripoff of something that Blizzard made, and it's just when things are popular, people just get really, really passionate about it, and they just direct their anger at the dumbest things. But I must play the devil's advocate here and be that, and say that although like the gameplay in Opening Hour and PC are the same, and that's not because they're copying each other. I do have to say that I think that the concept of a playable teaser was pushed really hard by PT, all right? Because before that, game companies, they weren't really thinking of using, playable teasers as a thing, as a way to market their games, right? So Capcom, according to articles I've been reading, they say that, they're pretty adamant on the fact that, Resident Evil 7 wasn't influenced by PT because it was in development before that last. I kind of have to call some bullshit, because although they may have developed, the game mechanics and the ideas for Resident Evil 7 independently of PT, I really don't think that someone at Capcom, just was watching the success that PT had, its huge spike in popularity, and just went like, let's not try to do that with Resident Evil 7, no, that bullshit. They obviously got it, whether they want to admit it or not, PT, just the idea of releasing a playable teaser, obviously that influenced them and the way that they created Beginning Hour. You know what I mean?
I mean, anyone who played the demo, just like my first thought was like,
honestly, I don't really care
PT.
if they're copying anyone or if they're trying to take an idea from somebody. The idea of a playable teaser is just brilliant to me. It's like it's kind of like a regular teaser, but you get to interact with the environment and progress on your own. You're not just watching like a 1080p video. You know what I mean?
Even then, it's not like it's gonna.
No, imagine with PT, for example, once people got to the end and they saw Norman Reedus looking back at them, and then the title Silent Hills. Imagine how amazing that felt.
Oh, it was fucking great for a lot of people, I assure you. But on that note, we were talking about PT earlier. Do you think that there's this new playable teaser trend that's going on, or would you think one's going to start soon? Because PT kind of started this phenomenon, and then Beginning Hour, it continued it. And I'm just wondering if other companies might be like, let's try that.
I'd say I honestly don't see it happening that much more. I could see it happening. Maybe it's just I feel like it works better for horror games. Just throw you in this mysterious world, set up the atmosphere, and do it. For example, someone like Halo or Battlefield, or some third-person shooter type, some big AAA game try to do it. It's like, that's cool. I kind of know what to expect from this series already. I don't care. Yeah, I'm playing. This is fun, but I know what game I'm expecting. But like I said, horror is they can just okay, this is the setting. Maybe it's a building from the world, but it has nothing to do with the main game story, which is going to tease you what to expect. And now here's all this mystery thrown at you. I think it kind of works good for horror.
Do I enjoy the idea of a playable teaser? Definitely. Do I think a trend is going on right now? Not so much. Though, I do think that with these two playable teasers, it'll kind of inspire other companies to make something similar to that and provide different experiences depending on their types of games. So, I in other words, I'd say one is a trend is starting, but it hasn't started yet.
Yeah, it's not as earnest. I kind of have to agree there, because, like you said, Jordan, it's not something that I picture would go very well with Advanced Warfare. I don't think that if they released a playable teaser, no one would give a shit about it. No offense to the hardworking devs at Infinity Ward. You have my respect, but just...
Well, here's the thing. A playable teaser would only really work if you're trying to advertise story or the huge environment. When it comes to a first-person shooter, the environments are kind of similar in some ways, and you're kind of the same premise is still there. You're shooting things.
Any guy who hasn't been living under a rock in the past 20 years knows the basic concept of a first-person shooter, right? And I do think that it works better with horror games, but I don't think it in the future there is a possibility, I think, of it expanding to other genres. I think that I don't like saying this name, but I will have to say it. But stuff like No Man's Sky, it's exploration games, right, where you can have this huge universe where you can use.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, guys.
No.
I had to bring up the name.
I can picture the world where No Man's Sky has a playable teaser, and if it's as amazing as the first trailer, but then the game comes out like it did today.
Well, I mean, if any company
of a universe
I can
where it's
picture
good.
it being even worse than that is right now.
Well, if any company ever does what No Man's Sky did, then they're probably going to go out of business someday because of how much money they're going to lose from false advertising.
But they're getting in so much shit about it, though. But yeah, let's not.
No,
try
but
to
here's
go
the
off
thing:
topic
it's a
with No Man's
very
Sky.
serious matter. It's false advertising is very serious. You made people spend like dozens of dollars to pay for a game that isn't living up to its name.
Yeah, I remember me and my friend were hyped for like space exploration co-op and stuff. I remember the closer and closer it came out. I'm like, hold off on that pre-order, man. I don't know about this game. I'm getting weird feelings.
I did not know what people were losing their minds over.
I'm like, my weird feeling. Like,
I didn't get
thought
it.
It'd be cool to do like crafting and fight stuff and co-op and stuff. I was looking at the co-op type, exploring, crafting, and co-op and find people in space.
No, I think Kevin can agree with me here. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't really see the hype behind it. When it was first
No.
revealed. It's like it was from a company I had no idea existed until
I think
it was
that's their
revealed.
first game, if not mistaken, because that's the first time I've ever heard of them ever.
I actually played one of their games before. It was just like a funny, like it was just a fun like trials type of game.
I was talking with my friend about it some time ago, and like for any of you listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had some experience with mobile games. And until they started making No Man's Sky, which was their first
They
big
made
game.
They made two PS3 games. They're called Joe Danger. They were like kind of like trials, but like it was like
Oh, I've heard of Joe Danger.
yeah, it was fun. It was a free PS Plus game. I played the second one. It was fun. So I played it. I'm like, whoa, those guys are making a big game. So I was kind of like Joe Danger. It's kind of fun as a free.
I mean,
PS
I definitely
Plus
kept
title.
my eye on it
I'm looking
because
at
like
their-
it looked like I definitely kept my eye on the game because it looked like they had some good ideas going, and for a company like that, like I'm like I didn't really hear about them, but if they have these really good ideas, I'll give them a chance. But like unfortunately, it didn't really execute correctly.
Yeah, no, just looking at their history, all right, and it's literally I'll read out their entire company history to you, and it's Joe Danger, Joe Danger 2, the movie, Joe Danger Infinity, and then it's No Man's Sky. So yeah, they're a relatively new company, right? And I get that everybody was super pissed off with, you know, the way that they handled advertising. You know, like Sean Murray, I don't think he meant to mislead people. He just got really, I think what happened is he got really excited about the potential for his game. So he started talking about possibilities and stuff, right? Yeah. It could be a really good game. This is what we could do with the engine, the tech that we're implementing in the game, but it just never happened, right? And as a result, because of that miscommunication, people just got really disappointed. And that's one of the things I want to talk about regarding, you know, playable teasers. Because, like you said, Joe, if it is a thing that's going on, all right, and let's not lie to ourselves. We don't know whether it'll be very big in the future or whether some companies will try it, but it's
They
going to
need to
happen
be
eventually.
it's gonna happen, but they need to be story oriented if they want them to work. Because like it goes back to your first person shooter point. Like nobody's gonna be really hyped for a playable teaser for first person shooter because the core concept is still the same.
Also, wait, I was gonna say, I think a playable teaser should come out maybe at least a year before the game, because I'm not like, oh, here's a playable teaser. It's one of those games that's gonna come out 2 years later, and it's like game completely changes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like playable teasers, one of my big fears is I'm not against the idea of playable teasers, right? Because they've had huge successes. Just to give you guys an idea of how huge Beginning Hour was, it broke records, right? I'm pretty sure it broke PT's record for most downloads because it got 2+ million downloads as of July 2016. That's when I last checked. July, all right. It's probably So it's been a couple months. It's been like 2 months and a half since July, and people have downloaded the shit out of it, right? So that's good news, right? Because you want popularity and stuff, but there's just so much potential, in my opinion, for false advertising and like miscommunication between the developers and the gamers. You know, as in the case with No Man's Sky, because remember we love Resident Evil, okay? But if you guys didn't know yet, Beginning Hour actually has little to no connection with the actual main game itself, right? It's more of a proof of concept, right? And that's cool and all, right? But like Jordan,
Like
you said,
besides the house and the main enemy, everything's different.
it's just a proof of concept. They're basically what they wanted to do with Beginning Hour is like, okay, this is the atmosphere that we want to go with. This is the mechanics we're going to try to implement into the main game in Resident Evil 7, right? So this is a little step away from the previous entry in the series, Resident Evil 6, right? So this is what you can expect. That being said, it's very vague, right? So like I said, it's cool, but if you think about other things in the past that were done, you know, like Jordan, you said it yourself, where there's a time gap between the teaser itself and the release, things can change because game development's a very dynamic process, right? It's not, you stick with one idea when you start and you end up with the same idea when you end. It changes constantly, right? And one of my biggest fears is that perhaps with the beginning hour, some other game in the future, what will happen is we'll get an Aliens Colonial Marines issue. Do you guys remember that?
I do remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, remember the fucking gameplay?
That was bad as No Man's Sky.
If I recall, that was an issue with them advertising. It's similar to the No Man's Sky issue where they advertised one thing and something completely different ended up being released.
Oh yeah.
Both Gearbox
real
and
bad. It was
Sega were sued
horrible.
for, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't remember what game show
Gearbox,
they presented it as.
You guys are so good.
I mean, I love you, Gearbox, for Borderlands, but for everything else, it's kind of like. Eh.
Well, Sega was Sega was involved in that too, right?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether it was intentional misdirection, whether it was accidental misdirection. But the fact of the matter is, what they showed us, I think it was an E3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, they presented, E3 or PAX, and they're presenting like a gameplay demo, right? A hands-on demo, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is the Aliens game
the AI was better.
This is exactly what I wanted from an Aliens game." And then the fucking game comes out, and we all know how well that went, right? It was just a train wreck from day one, right?
So happy I didn't buy that game. It looks so good from all the gameplay and trailers.
At least we
demos.
got our money's worth with Alien Isolation, though. Like they.
Oh yeah.
I
got my money's worth big time for that because I got it for $20. It was so good. I wish I would have bought for $60 because the game's amazing.
So, what you guys think of the potential for false marketing there? Do you think that you would welcome more playable teasers? Do you think that this risk of lying to the
I think playable teasers can have some sort of relation to the full game, but at the same time, a playable teaser can be subject to change.
Yeah, I mean it is just that. It is a teaser.
Yeah, it isn't. If they were showing a full gameplay trailer, then that would be if they release a different game, false advertising.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
At least,
interesting, and I like the two we've gotten, but I'm not like, oh man, because if E3 every trailer follows by playable teasers out now, so I'm like, yeah, at some point I'll be like, I'm over it. This is not cool anymore. This is boring. It's I'm not even interested in downloading your teaser anymore. if every game starts doing it. Because it's it's over. The little fun of just getting a nice little surprise would be over.
I don't think any of us are against PTs. It's just game devs. If you're going to try PTs playable teasers, just tread carefully because if you succeed, you'll have a PT/beginning hour effect, and if you fuck up, you'll have an Aliens, Colonial Marines, and No Man's Sky result. And those are on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
What if a playable teaser came out and it sucked? What if someone put hundreds of millions of dollars in the game, playable teaser came out and it was absolutely hated?
I guess we'll never find out because of Konami. There. Thanks, Konami.
No, I'm saying what if if a trailer looked cool and the teaser was just trash and this game is a full on AAA game and it's I would love to see the studio and be like, oh god, what do we do now? That teaser is absolutely hated and the game comes out in a year or something. It's what do we do? I'd love to see that kind of situation. It'd be panic and chaos in whatever room that has to try to fix all that in a short amount of time.
I mean, if a teaser sucks, then that's kind of the point where you need to listen to fan reception and think about what you can change.
No, I'm just saying if it comes out and the game comes out not too much later, it's how what would give the delay a whole another year?
Well, I mean, as far as Capcom's concerned, I feel like they've I feel like they're, from what I've experienced with Capcom demos, is that they're modified. They aren't just a portion of the game that you get to play. They're modified versions of the game that let you see everything that you want to see. A good example, though it isn't exactly horror and it's not related to Resident Evil at all, are the Phoenix Wright demos, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. It's for example, Dual Destinies is a better example. So in the full game, you start off as Athena Sykes, defending your first climb, which is Juniper Woods. But in the demo, you start off with Phoenix, and you start off in a way that you get introduced to your characters in a different way, and you don't see certain events unfold, and then you go right into defending. So it's like I feel like what we're seeing right now with Resident Evil is that they're giving us an idea of what the gameplay will be like, but the game itself will kind of play out in a different way.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit that, we can talk shit about, how No Man's Sky was handled, about how Aliens Colonials was handled, but in the very least, you have to give credit to Capcom for at least being explicitly clear that with people that, listen, guys, this is not representative of the final game. This is just a proof of concept. At least they're open and honest about that, right?
I'll be honest, I actually liked when they said that. It's like, oh, cool. I like one thing I like about it, like when demo comes out really early. It's like, okay, you get to the part, you get to the games, like, oh, this is the demo part. Let me just get through this part of the game. Like, I'm like, I play the teaser. I'm like, okay, I'm down with the atmosphere. I'm down with all this now. I'm okay if it's not part of the main game because that means I can experience new stuff and don't have to retread this old ground.
We've talked about PT, right? But now I want to ask the question, guys, and I don't know if you'll have an opinion on this, but I'll throw it out anyways. PT or beginning hour? What do you guys prefer? Like, what do you guys? Which demo or rather teaser do you guys think was more effective?
Well, I mean,
like effective.
I don't know what to say.
Like on everyone.
Maybe it's like Resident.
I'll say
on one hand, Resident
mystery.
Evil 7's demo kind of like it showed off how different the series is going. Yeah, it changed how the series is going to play out from here on out. But with PT, like the horror factor was turned up way up.
Yeah, they turned that dial up to 11.
Not to mention that the playable teaser was so convoluted. It's like, what if that was reflected in the main game? Imagine how crazy like these events could unfold. Like, imagine how crazy these events could be.
Then again, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because like there are these crazy-ass things that you could perhaps only do within, like a 30-minute demo, right? That you can't necessarily do in a full AAA game. So on one side, you show off all these cool, interesting concepts that you might apply and that you think of doing in the main game. But if you don't have them in the main game, people might get pissed, they might get angry. Whereas I think that beginning hour, one of the things that you do have to applaud them for is that they showed off the new direction for Resident Evil, but they did it using pretty concrete concepts, right? There's nothing groundbreaking that we've never seen before in the genre, right? But at the same time, it is refreshing to see the direction they're going to take, right? Because when they announced it, Resident Evil's taking this first-person approach and more survival horror approach compared to Resident Evil 6, right? Everyone's kind of skeptical. And they did a pretty good job of showing us what they meant by that through beginning hour without necessarily like offering overly vague promises or proof of concepts for certain mechanics,
I'd say effective-wise, for me personally, I'd say they're equal. Because with PT, it was horror, it was unlike any other horror game I played. Like, it's so interesting, all the mystery and stuff. And the way it ended, it was like, oh my god, Kojima and Del Toro making the game together with Norman Reedus. That was amazing. And then, like I said, then with beginning hour, it was like, oh, I can't wait to see, like, getting that nice, fresh feel, like Resident Evil, but feel like nice and fresh again, and having horror there, and having this big mystery around it, and be like, okay, and it comes out like in about less than a year from the teaser. And it was like, yeah, now I'm really excited. So, like, I think both got me just equally excited for the games that were supposed to come out. So I think they both did well for me. Like, I don't like one over the other. They both did their job.
I guess in the end, I kind of agree with Jordan. It's like they both did very different things, like very innovative things that nobody really expected from each respective teaser. It's like nobody really expected PT to be so horrific and convoluted, and nobody really expected Resident Evil 7 to change this direction for its respective series. And like in the end, I feel like they both did a really good job at introducing new things, and they both kind of set the bar pretty high for horror games.
Oh yeah. And I have to agree in that they're both pretty solid teasers, right? And they're kind of like they're in their own genre. They're one of a kind, right? Not to my knowledge, no other companies have done playable teasers as well as what Konami and Capcom have done with PT and Beginning Hour respectively. That being said, I must admit, and I don't know whether this is because, some unconscious bias I have for Kojima or whatever, or, just the amount of coverage that PT got, but I think that even though they're both good, I have to give a slight edge to PT just because, and I know I might sound kind of hypocritical here, the fucking mind-blowing ways that they integrated horror and the puzzles into the teaser, right? Because everybody was on this like wild manhunt for all the Easter eggs and all the secrets within PT, right? And it took like entire forms to get to the bottom of the game. And I think that honestly was something that you don't get often at all, right? The only thing that I think comes sort of close to that is Treyarch Zombies and the way that they handle the Easter eggs, right? And Beginning Hour, it did its job. It was really cool, and it was very effective in showing people, the direction that they wanted to take with the series now in the future. But just PT, in my opinion, is more innovative and it's more interesting. Those are my 2 cents, at least. On that note, we were talking about Konami a lot earlier. I was wondering if you guys have any thoughts about Silent Hills, or rather, what's left of it. You guys have any thoughts about the way it was announced, the cancellation?
Honestly,
I love the way it was announced, and I hate the cancellation. That was such a horrible way to. It's just it's canceled. That's it.
Fuck you, fuck you, Kojima. I hate the way that Konami handled it as a fucking company too. It was such bullshit.
Well, I mean, I'm not it's just my personal, very immature, very simple responses aside. It's I just want to talk about it seriously. It was a very good game in concept. It definitely at the time it was something that everyone was very excited for. The dream team was basically being working on the
holy
game.
trinity of Kojima,
Kojima
Reedus and Del Toro. Right? It was just perfect.
Norman Reedus, Hideo Kojima, and Guillermo del Toro. They all of whom are amazing at what they do. They were going to work on this very this very serious, very horrific game, which excited so many people. And then to hear a company that everyone grew up with having disputes with Hideo Kojima and eventually essentially kicking him out of the company, it's and they ended up canceling the game, and they ended up going their own way, and they were basically doing these different action. They were acting in ways that are just very unfitting for a company. It's as if they were trying to drive people who have supported him for so long away, and it's honestly a shame. It's the game was probably going to be I'd go as far as to say it was probably going to be the greatest horror game ever made. It is. Yes, we'll never really know if it was going to be a flop or it was going to be absolutely.
I was just sitting here thinking, I'm okay, just imagine all the buildings, all the places we could have went. That was only that essentially it's one little room. Just imagine full-on buildings and areas we can go into. Just imagine seeing that huge city of Silent Hill, and the graphics of the Fox engine, and you're in first person. I know it's supposed to be in third person, but just imagine if you could go to first person and walking around that, and still having the fog and enemies come out of the fog and you can't see that well, and you go into buildings and stuff and with all the craziness that they could have added to the world of Silent Hills with. Right. Oh man, that game could have been so good.
No, it wasn't even
mind-blowing.
It wasn't even some random horror game either. It was a game that had lots of support, and it was a game that people were really excited for. Because they knew the people working on it knew what they were doing. And if it was coming from the company, if it was a game being made by the company who made Silent Hill, which is a very just as well, it's legend. It's a legend of a genre. It was it's on par with how Resident Evil used to be. And now to see that it was canceled, and to see that all these decisions made by Konami are have been nothing but detrimental.
Yeah, and like if we're talking for fresh starts, like Silent Hills has had bad games for a long while now. That would have been a big good like if that game would have been as amazing as it could have been, it would have been a whole brand new start for Silent Hill because the series has essentially been dead for a long time because there has been no good games and that's come out for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it had such a bright future, and to this day, I do not understand what exactly went down between Kojima and Konami, because Konami, they, if I remember correctly, they actually asked him to direct the next Silent Hill game, right? And he accepted to do that. I don't know what the
I
fuck
remember
happened.
that was years ago. I remember years and years ago that news came out, and then I forgot all about it. And I remember seeing the announcement, like, oh yeah, Kojima did talk about that years and years ago.
I just don't understand how they managed to fuck up that bad. Like, not only did they, get the game canceled, they also alienated themselves from Kojima. And honestly, alienating is a very light word to use here. They outright were hostile with Kojima. All right.
Seeing the fact that he couldn't even finish Metal Gear Solid 5 since it's supposed to be a whole third act in the game.
Yeah,
We only
and
got two or
when
three
he won
acts.
fucking awards for that, he couldn't accept the awards because they threatened legal action against him, and so they had this fucking representative from the company accept it. It was ridiculous.
No, honestly, that was going way too far. It's one thing to kind of alienate somebody from the company, but to deny them the rewards for working on something that they nurtured, that they built over all of these years, and to see like another company taking credit for it, it's just infuriating. It's like this is his creative work, and he spent all his life like developing a story like this. And
Infuriating, and it felt so good though at the Game Awards show when Jeff said that out loud live on the internet to everyone watching the Game Awards that Konami blocked him from coming, and just seeing the crowd cheering for Jeff, just like screwing Konami, and the whole internet's like, yeah, fuck. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, there was a hashtag going on, if I remember correctly, like fuck Konami or something, and it's just they deserve it.
I'm
right?
I'm very glad somebody spoke up during those Game Awards. It was honestly a dick move. Like he deserved to be acknowledged the way he should have. He deserved to be acknowledged in a way that should have gave him like lots of recognition, lots of praise, and that was all taken away from him just because of a dispute by the company. And now he can't even work on these games anymore because Konami owns the rights to them. Like they basically stole his rights and pushed him away.
Well, look at Metal Gear Survive, right? He has no fucking control over that, right? Because it's all Konami. And I think that it's that level of bullshittery is insane. Konami is effectively they were and still are acting like 5-year-old children, pouting over something that they can't get, right? So it's such a BS that a game that had so much potential was
just
fucking
really
canceled.
It just really rubs
because
you
of
the
that.
wrong way. It's kind of like if you were drawing in your notebook, like, and you were a very good artist, and then you end up losing your notebook, and somebody found it and took credit for it. How are you going to prove that was yours?
Oh, not only they're taking credit for your fucking work, they're also taking your work and then fucking ruining it. They're just taking fucking a big ass permanent marker and they're just scribbling all over your fucking work in front of your face. That's what Konami was doing with Metal Gear Survive.
It's like
Anyways,
I can't forgive them for that. It's
Yeah.
like it's just like it's not even like, oh, like fuck Konami and yada yada yada. It's just a very horrible choices they made, and like it's honestly a shame. I pity them.
Konami's the first company, even though they're done probably making console games. They're the first company ever. I look at it like, yeah, your games, I ain't buying no matter what now. Brand new. No, you ain't get. I can also see Sony in the future just rubbing into Konami even more. Like, just like I could see them making like, you know how like it's always a Hideo Kojima game on the box art. We know it's there for Death Stranding because it was in the trailer, but I could see him trying to make fun of Konami in a way, just like on E3, just have huge words on the screens, a Hideo Kojima game, then show a trailer.
I know we've been talking a lot about Konami, right? And we could talk a lot more about Konami, all right? Because there's just so much to say about that company, and unfortunately, almost everything, or I'd go as far as to say everything about that company is negative. But enough of that. Let's talk about Silent Hills in a different way, because we've talked about the game itself. We all know it was canceled, right? But even though it was canceled, to say that it didn't leave a mark on the industry would be to bullshit yourself, right? Because, like it or not, it did leave an impact in the industry, and that's a good thing, because there are lots and lots of games that are, kind of taking up the mantle of what Silent Hills was meant to be, right? So I just want your opinions on that, right? Because do you think that it's good that, games like Allison Road, which honestly I was pretty damn excited for when they announced it, right? There are some people like, oh yeah, why are there so many clones of Silent Hills going out? But, when I hear games like Allison Road and stuff, I'm excited, right? Because
I want to play Allison Roads.
yeah, because Silent Hills, unfortunately, due to some corporate BS, will never see the light of day. But if I can get something, at least half of what Silent Hills was meant to be, I'll be fucking happy, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that news a while ago.
Yeah, like it was some time ago.
Started
Like,
back up.
it was canceled and then it was brought back up for some reason.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the way what was happening is that they're basically kickstarting it, right? But then the devs are like, oh, don't worry, guys, we partnered with this publisher and we don't need your money more, right? So they just like canceled the Kickstarter or something. Then a few months later, because of some issues that they didn't disclose, they are no longer partnered with a publisher, so they're going back to indie. It seems
it was company issues.
The publisher
because
was the guys who make the Worms games.
Oh,
well, I mean,
yeah, there's some issue or conflict, and now they're restarting development, but with like reduced staff, I think.
Yeah, it was most likely a staff issue because I'm reading right now that. Like, it's from IGN. Like, in a statement to IGN, Allison Road creator Christian Kessler confirmed that he would continue to work on the game on his own, this time under a new label called Far From Home, co-founded with his wife, who was also his business partner. So I assume, like, maybe there were issues with the staff, and that's why he's kind of working on his own now.
Yeah, see, I didn't mention that because I thought I was reading it wrong when he said he's literally going to start on his own, and now I'm worried, because when someone says they're starting an entire game on their own, then... I mean, you can be talented as you want, but even Kojima cannot create a game on his own, right? There are countless people who worked on titles like Metal Gear, Resident Evil and stuff, right? Unfortunately, I don't see how, unless something changes with the staffing and he gets more people to work for him, I don't see how Allison Road will be able to meet its original goals. So, we talked about pretty much, we've almost talked about everything regarding horror games. We talked about Resident Evil 7,
I mean, we have even more Resident Evil 7 details we can go into. I mean, there's the Resident Evil 7
There's so
trailers,
much to talk about.
The teasers they're putting out right now.
So we talked about, like, what they've told us so far, and, the past of, the Resident Evil series, and, more traditional mechanics and horror games, right? But one of the interesting things, that's coming up...
I'm surprised how far they're actually going back to traditional. Like I said, one of the teasers is showing like the inventory box and stuff. I'm like, well, I didn't expect the inventory box, a save room, the typewriters. Like, I knew they're going back to horror, but I didn't know they're going to like save rooms, inventory boxes, save spots, a super limited inventory. I'm like, that is straight up Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 right there.
It's like back in the day of like, GameCubes and other older consoles where if you wanted to save something and you didn't have a fucking card, you left that console on. You did not touch the power button. You just left that shit on, right? But we talked about past games and stuff, right? But I was wondering what you guys think of these new possibilities that are popping up for horror games, right? Because there's a whole lot of talk about VR and other tech that's being pushed for RE7, right? So, what do you guys think of PSVR integration in Resident Evil 7?
Well, I mean, we should ask Jordan because he's the one who won a freaking like bundle from Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Please elaborate, Jordan.
PSVR, the VR system sellers will be horror games because goddamn, horror is amazing in VR. Okay, one thing that's cool though is I played. Okay, so you know how the kitchen demo is only for VR. Like I kind of watched a demo, snippets here and there. I'm like, okay, but so I put the thing on. I'm not as terrified because I kind of know what's going on because I've watched it before I even got VR. But it really gets to you when she's like, you can see her. Like I saw her dash in the corner. I'm like, oh, I see her. I'm sitting there watching her. The dude try and cut me, and I see her move again. I'm like, I know it's coming up because it's the very end of the beginning of our demo, and she stabs him. and then she gets right into your face, and it's like instinct. Like I wasn't even thinking of a game. An instinct. She puts this knife and she puts it right in your face, and I just started moving my head back, and as you move your head back, she moves it closer and closer to your face and moves around, reacts to the way you're moving your head. It was so cool. And then then
It
she
seemed
takes the guy back.
intense. Just
It is.
yeah,
It's
just
like
watching the demo. Like I can't imagine what you were feeling and experiencing when you were playing it.
yeah, dude.
Right? Because
Like,
the thing is,
watching it's so much different playing it. Like
yeah,
it feels like that knife is like less than an inch from your face, especially when you're moving your head. If she moves it closer to you, it's like, oh my god, this is so cool.
What does I don't know how the VR works exactly. Does it have a way to send audio to your ears?
Oh yeah, it has like this little thing. It's like this little white bar on the cable, and you just plug in your headphone right there, and you put your headphones on. And
that's the
then you
thing.
can adjust the
Immersion,
volume.
like we were talking
So,
about
like-
how immersion was great.
Like your whole face is covered, you can hear everything. It's like it's so good in VR. Like it makes me excited but terrified to actually walk around and look around in the houses and stuff in Resident Evil 7, because that's just me sitting in a chair. Like I can't wait to sit here, play the game, maybe be behind a box, just lean my head over and just barely see someone walking towards me and try to move around and stuff. And maybe like I could just see it. Like it'd be terrifying if I don't know it's an enemy and I just turn my head around, there's someone down the hallway. It'd be like scary as hell. Like I'm out of here. I ain't dealing with this.
you basically described
it'd be
what
so much more terrifying in VR, but I'm so excited to try it out.
you basically described what I feel about VR and horror games. I mean, it's really great because keep in mind that we were talking about just how great the immersion was. For RE7, just on standard television without any VR, with the sound graphics, right? But with VR and the way you're fully immersed in the game with fucking earbuds and your entire field of view is the fucking screen.
Well, question. For PlayStation VR, does it how's it connected? Is it wireless connectivity, or like if I want to use it on PC?
Wired. It's like it's one wire. I mean, it has like a couple more wires, but it's like when you're standing up and wearing it, it's just one wire from the console. Yeah, it has like this little connector. Like you take the HDMI from the back PS4 and you plug it into like this little like splitter. It's like a split. It's like a splitter box type of thing.
Because I was wondering if it had PC support.
I remember reading something that Sony might add PC support in the future, but as of right now, if you do a PC, it's just gonna be like a little viewer type of thing, like a big screen mode for the time being. But yeah, like it's also interesting, like you said, immersion of sound. Like you have the headphones on, you can hear her walking around when she disappears. So like she kind of sounds like she's behind you. You can hear her hitting something in the kitchen, and then like finally like time runs by, and like wherever you're looking, she just grabs you from behind, and like she puts her hands around your face and pulls the character back. And it's like, this is terrifying but amazing. Because if I was playing that on TV, it wouldn't have been as terrifying. But it's like, this is amazing.
It's
so
the
good.
next level of immersion,
Yeah.
right? And
Like even like I played another horror game. I didn't buy it, but it was on the demo disc. Like Kitchen was. It was called Here They Lie, and it starts you out in like this destroyed like apocalypse type of world in New York City. I'm like in the subway, and like I was like, you use the controller to move around, and I'm like, I want to look around. Like your head is the flashlight, so I'm moving around, super dark, and I'm looking. I can hear noises. I saw this enemy. He turned around, looked at me, ran away. I'm like, oh no, where are you? I remember walking around. I looked around the corner, and here's someone. He started chasing me. I'm like, oh fuck, just running. Like you can hear him behind you and stuff. It's like, this is so good, dude. Like you can hear them behind you. You know they're behind you, but if you turn your head, you can kind of see them. It's like you're just trying to get away, and like your head's the flashlight and super dark, so you have to move your head to where you want to look and stuff. It was so good.
yeah, for
Like,
me,
I can't imagine playing if PT was out for VR.
Oh my god. That would be horrifying, to say the
Yeah.
least.
just for me, I like horror games, but the thing is, I have trouble playing, rather tame horror games already, like Resident Evil Revelations. I'm already on edge with some, rather light games in the genre. I cannot picture myself going like all out and getting a VR headset and going to play horror games, because just watching the video on my computer screen, like no VR or anything, just watching the kitchen demo, right, and having that zombie woman, whatever the fuck she is, pointing her fucking knife in your face is fucking terrifying, right? That alone is terrifying, but having it like cover your entire field of view,
you don't know
just...
you don't know she reacts to you until you have the VR headset and you're moving around. It's like, oh god, this is different. Like she's reacting the way I'm moving my head and stuff. Like it doesn't, you don't see that in the demo.
I can picture some people having seizures or just really, really bad reactions to it, because some people, they're faint of heart. So I don't know, I have a feeling that if we're going to go ahead with VR and horror games, it's going to be for the more bold people. Not people like me. I don't think I'll ever touch it. I'll admire it. It's cool, but for me personally, I don't think I'll dabble into VR and horror games. That combo for me is just too much.
I'd say VR is the future of horror. Like there will be a lot more first-person horror games just because of VR. Like if you get a good horror game, if it's good already, just playing on standard-wise, and you put it in VR, and it's gonna be a whole other experience. Like I would love to replay Outlast, because Outlast is terrifying. That game was crazy, but I couldn't imagine playing certain scenes in Outlast in VR, especially a certain scene in the DLC. Certain scene in the DLC would be beyond terrifying in VR. It would be so different.
Well, here's I think the fact that people are getting so sick is kind of, I think in a way it's kind of what the developers are aiming for, because they want people to feel like they're in that environment. And because here's the thing, if you put me in a room with a weird mutated abomination, I'd probably feel really sick and probably really horrified.
Just talking about this is making me I was already hyped for Resident Evil 7. I am beyond excited. My hype's on a whole nother level after playing VR. It's this game is gonna feel so crazy, especially now I get to experience weapons, shooting, terror, exploring these places and that complete immersion. Resident Evil 7 is gonna be a whole nother gaming experience once I actually play it.
Actually, I have a question for you, Jordan. I think a lot of people might be interested in it. From your experience with the PSVR headset and Resident Evil 7, or the demos at least, how comfortable was it? Because at least from the articles that I've been reading on Kotaku that were posted a few months ago, right? So things could have changed since then. But a few months ago, Kotaku, I think it was Jason Schreier or someone else, who posted an article saying how playing PSVR with RE7 was pretty nauseous. Did you experience that at all, or was it good?
I think PSVR, not just Resident Evil 7. I think every single game I've played, it's very comfortable. The headset's really comfortable, and also they have this nice thing on the front. You hit a button, you can extend it out. If you have glasses on, 'cause I wear glasses, I can just extend this thing up with the headset on, push it back, and it's I can wear my glasses. They have they have this option. You can go in the settings on the screen. You can adjust it so your vision's perfect on the headset. It's a very, really comfortable and nice headset.
Honestly, it really. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jordan, but it really depends on how exposed you are to these games to begin with. Because Jordan is a diehard Resident Evil fan, so naturally, if he had VR on, then he'd feel a little more affected by what he's seeing. But since he's already seen how serious and how gory Resident Evil can be, it's he's kind of used to it. But beside as opposed to somebody who's only played a few horror games in their time, and once they put on VR something they're not really used to, and they see something so detailed and something so gory, then it's only natural for them to feel really nauseous.
I guess it is interesting seeing someone getting stabbed and the character stabbing you in the leg and having a knife in your head face. It's different seeing that in VR than just seeing it on the TV screen, a 2D image.
Oh yeah, and it's just
because it is interesting when she stabs you in your leg and you look down, she has this knife in your character's leg. You're
fucking
and stuff,
gushing
and
blood and shit.
Oh my, yeah, it's crazy.
It's just VR. It's so great, but at the same time, it's terrifying in a way. And as long as it's not nauseous, I think that you can have a very good experience with it. And I'm glad to hear that they resolved issues.
Every single demo I played was comfortable and good. The shark attack one was really awesome. Be underwater and shark comes flying. The other one was really cool. You've probably seen it because it's one of the demos they show off the most. It was called London Heist. it was really cool having one move controller shooting at Uzi and having another controller picking up a magazine and reloading it physically into the bottom of the gun to reshoot. Like, that was so cool. It's like, it's so different than just saying square and like automatic reloads. Yeah, so
The Nintendo fans out there are like, but the Wii did that too.
The Wii never did that reload.
Hey, we're not here to point fingers.
Yeah, but it's cooler in VR just doing that. like leaning in the door, and you use one controller, open up a door in the car, and you're shooting out, leaning with your head and stuff. It's so cool. And then one game I need to mention that everyone's seen and probably has to play just because it's so fun and stupid but fun. Job Simulator. Job Simulator is so fun.
Oh, that
so
one,
to
I've heard of
play.
it. Yeah. That
I
one.
love that demo.
Honestly,
And Eve Valkyrie is also cool, being a spaceship, shooting other spaceships flying around. That was amazing.
just as a pilot and as a guy who's a fan of space sims and flying sims, Eve Valkyrie looks fucking amazing. And honestly, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have asked you about VR, Jordan, because now I'm just really fucking jealous. I want VR now.
You know what you need
I'm
to
just
do, Kevin? You just need to buy a bunch of Taco Bell boxes and hope you win, like our lucky winner
Yes!
over here.
Foolproof strategy. Meanwhile, I'm looking at my wallet and I'm crying at the sight of like the $30 that it has in it.
Okay.
You know, Jordan,
here's
I'll
the
never-
thing.
I'll-
Kevin,
I'll always
in the
hate-
future, you ever get VR, first game you're buying is Eve, because Eve's amazing. I played the demo. The demo was mind-blowing.
Jordan, I'll never forgive you for that. Like, people like me have to spend hundreds while you just got it for like $6.
Like, I got if we want to calculate everything, it was like 15, and only two of those were mine.
But yeah, we've talked about pretty much everything about Resident Evil 7. You know, the new approach, the new mechanics, you know, how it contrasts with old ones, you know, PT, and you know, this, whether or not there's a new trend, Silent Hills, and now we've even talked about VR, right? So I think that I think we've had a really nice discussion about Resident Evil 7 and horror games. And now, I think the final question I want to ask you all, and I already know what Jordan's going to respond, okay? Let's be real. But do you guys plan on buying Resident Evil 7? Jordan,
No,
you want to go
never.
first?
No, why would I buy Resident Evil?
He'll just win it from Taco Bell. Just watch.
This is all.
Oh my
this has all
God.
been this is all been
Kevin,
fake.
I'm going to kill you.
He's just going to win everything from
Resident-
Taco Bell. Just watch.
Resident Evil 6 is actually my favorite. I can't even say that out loud. Fuck Resident Evil 6. I'm buying Resident Evil 7 day one. I already have it pre-ordered. I had it pre-ordered since like E3. Just because it's Resident Evil. And I
The
always
moment
buy
it was
day one.
available. Jordan's just there
Yeah.
refreshing the page. Joe, what
Especially
about
after
you?
playing Revelations, especially after playing Revelations 1 and 2, and it's like, okay, I'm liking where the story's going after 6.
I probably will buy it actually. I'm still thinking about it, but like,
Joe, Joe,
what?
play Resident Evil 4, my favorite game of all time first.
Does it come into PS4?
It's already on PS4.
Already is. Can we do co-op?
No, it's single player.
Damn it.
Well, you can get Resident Evil 5 and play co-op like that.
I mean, you can. I beat Resident Evil 5 like 5 times already on PS4 co-op.
Yeah, Resident Evil 5 is
I mean,
legendary. It comes to co-op.
all of that aside, I definitely will get to that, Jordan. But like, since Resident Evil 7 is kind of like its own thing right now, I think it'd be safe to kind of jump into the series at that point. And I'm probably
four or
chances
7.
are-
4 or 7.
chances are it might get PlayStation VR around Christmas time. So like, I'll be prepared. I'll be able to play it with PlayStation VR, which would be very nice, and probably
You're gonna
very
shit your
horrifying.
pants with Resident Evil 7 in VR.
I'll have a lot of toilet paper ready.
Yeah, as for me, I probably will buy it, but will I try to get PSVR? Will I try to get? Would I try out VR integration? Fuck no. I'm not that type of guy. You know, I'm just too much for me. I'll try it on its own. You know, I'm comfortable with my small 24-inch screen. I'm happy with that, and I'll probably see where it goes from there.
I mean, I didn't plan game VR this early. It was never a thought on my mind.
Yeah, but Jordan, if you win another PSVR set from Taco Bell or KFC or any place for that matter, do you mind sending it my way?
Maybe I can have you and Joe fight to the death.
Dibs. I beat you, Joe.
No, nope. I'm sorry, but Jordan loves me, and I think he would send it to be more than someone like you.
I already did send him Ruby Volume 1.
Yeah, like it doesn't like he'd love
You
to send me
lucky
something else
bastard.
too. No, he.
Ruby is great.
Thank you.
There's been times when I sit back and I'm like, Joe still hasn't finished Volume 3. Maybe I should send him Volume 2 and 3.
You know, there's a hardcover for
Motivate
that.
him.
There's a steelbook for that
Finish
now. You
it.
could actually buy it for me. Huh? No, I'm kidding.
Now we're going off track.
Yeah. But
Because I will tell you to finish it again.
it doesn't matter
Volume 4 is
that we've been having a great discussion, and honestly, we only went off topic like 17 times. But I think that
I meant like we're going off topic from games, to now we're going to Ruby, which is something I love super crazy too as well. So we can sit here for another couple hours talking about that.
Here's the thing: Jordan's love for Ruby is the equivalent of my love for Danganronpa.
I already watched Volume 4, Episode 1 6 times, and it came out yesterday. It's a 20-minute episode. I watched it 6 times, and it came out yesterday. And I'm gonna watch it a couple more times before Volume 2 comes out. And I'll probably watch it Episode 1 and 2 back to back next Saturday.
But yeah, guys, we've had a great discussion on Resident Evil 7 and on horror games. I think it was really fun to have. We only went off topic like 17 times, but no matter. That's the spirit of GALP, though. We have tangents. Tangents are fun. Right? But thanks to both of you for being on this episode. Thank you, Jordan, especially for lending us your expertise in Resident Evil and Resident Evil 7. Oh, we can have an entire episode dedicated to that.
Let's spend another hour and a half just talking about Resident Evil 4. You would like that, wouldn't you, Jordan?
Oh yeah, I can go deep. I know that hand I know that like the back of my hand. Every secret in that game I know.
Alright, so this is now a walkthrough podcast. Jordan is now starting his Resident Evil 4 walkthrough.
Start up your games, because I'll show you everything.
But yeah, guys, if you guys want to tell us about your thoughts on Resident Evil 7, or, join in discussion about why Resident Evil 6 was complete crap, you can talk to us on Twitter, because we all have Twitter profiles and email. So my Twitter handle is @TheTempestPhoenix, so it's Phoenix spelled F-E-N-I-X.
Mine is KiboGamer, spelled K-I-B-O-U-G-A-M-E-R. Jordan?
Mine is the Neotaku, which is TheNeoTaku.
And we can't forget about our good friend Bish's Twitter handle, which is at Ghetto Life Podcast.
Yep, so send him your thoughts on Resident Evil. I don't even know if Bish plays Resident Evil, but he would like to know your thoughts too, so Don't leave him alone. Also, if you're not a Twitter type of guy and you still live in the 19th century, you can also use email.
There was emails in the 19th century? Dude, that's like the 1800s.
There is in Doctor Who, probably. But if you want to contact us through email, you can do so, because there is P. So you can email p@galp.pea@gmail.com. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this Halloween special, and we'll see you next time.
I love all of you.
God damn it, Joe. God damn it.